Welcome to the April 9th, 2014 meeting of the Wareham Finance Committee. I need a roll call. Madam Clerk.
Present are Marilyn Jordan, David Hurd, Tom Worthen, Jeff Tufts, Bonnie Catulli, Larry McDonald, and Marilyn Donahue.
Is there anyone here for citizens participation? Come on up and grab a mic and introduce yourself. And thank you, because we rarely get anybody for citizens participation.
That's not a good sign, is it?
Not for us.
I'm Chet Heitzler from Parkwood Beach. If I understand correctly, the situation, we're going to be asked to vote on an override at the town meeting. And I just wonder if I could have a couple of questions that you might be able to answer or not.
Please do.
I pay now $1,000 a quarter in taxes. That's $4,000 a year. Does anyone know what impact that would have on my taxes should the override pass?
Mr. Sullivan, you want to address that?
Do you know your assessed value?
Well, see, I was hoping you could base it on the amount of taxes that I pay. No, I don't know the assessed value.
Multiply it by 13%.
Thank you very much. Now,
Challenge it if it isn't. It's 13.2%, really. It's going up to, after 5 years, it goes to about 14.5.
how interesting. Okay, I understand the logic behind that. I appreciate the answer. Thank you very much. The next question is, and the chairman's kind enough to answer this for me, but I'll ask it just for the heck of it. And that is that, as I understand it, the override is permanent. In other words, this amount does not get revisited each year. What happens is, once you vote this override, that's a permanent condition on our taxes. And I also understand from talking with the chairman, there's no way to amend that. In other words, there's no way to say, gee, you know, why can't we revisit this each year to see if we really need it each year?
Approach the mic if you want to answer, but I'd like to take a stab at a response.
Well, I took a stab at it earlier, and I can tell you what my stab was. It is a permanent increase to the tax base. However, if you, the word amendment is not the right word. If you decide that
it's called an underride.
That's what I told them earlier.
If you look at state statutes with an override, there is an option for the citizens to petition again for vote, just like for the override, where you can have an underride to remove the override. That's the only way you can remove it.
And, and would that be, could you do that each year, or is there a time limit? In other words,
No,
you only have 5 years.
You can, no, an override stays in place. At any time after the first year of the override, you could go in and you could basically go for an underride.
That's correct.
Right, so the big picture, I'm going to jump in here to see if I
go ahead.
can get it right. The big picture is the town is allowed to collect a certain amount of money. That's our levy limit. And we divvy it up depending on what the assessed values are. So if we get a big increase in assessed values and we get new construction and everybody's values come up, it isn't necessary that the taxes will keep going up because we can divide it by a larger pot. Does that make sense? I can't promise you that. And looking at our 5 years numbers, no, I wouldn't suggest that. But that theoretically, that could happen as well.
Now,
so the impact isn't necessary. It's going to be spread out differentially.
That's very clear, and I appreciate that answer. How do we, as a citizen, know whether in fact your tax base is increasing and therefore our taxes will go down, or whether the tax base is decreasing and therefore our taxes will go up? How do we know that?
There's a factor in the revenue called growth. And each year we project the growth, but then at the end of the year they calculate out the actual growth. That's how you can tell. If you look at a budget, I assume, you know, we can get you to a budget, but that growth factor is what you're talking about, correct? Right. And again, it depends, and it's not just growth for residential, it's growth in general. It's a growth of, I don't know, businesses, in this case maybe Rosebrook or a few other things. So we're estimating for 15 a $350,000 growth, which based on 14 projected at this point was $433,000. So we're estimating less growth this year. That doesn't mean it's going to come in at that, but that's being a conservative estimate. Would that be correct, conservative estimate? So that's how you, that will also obviously go into our tax base as well, the growth of that. And then it gets, again, divvied up. I like that word, divvied. I haven't used that in
Very
years.
technical term.
I knew.
The other option is, and again, not realistic for the numbers that we're looking at, but theoretically, we could have other revenue sources, or our situation could change, regionalization could come down, we could pull the rabbit out of the hat and not need that much money. So the tax rate could actually be decreased. That would be a function of what is needed, looking at the numbers. Just because we have a levy limit, we can't go above that, but we don't have to tax at that limit.
Wonderful. That's a great answer. I appreciate that
So
very much.
that's,
And
all
as
this
you
stuff is on the
probably know-
DOR website.
And as you probably know from last time, that was my pest peeve is that, in fact, I was led to believe, or thought I was led to believe, that growth of the town would reduce my taxes, and in fact, it's done exactly the opposite. Okay, thanks very much. Yes?
The other thing you should be aware of is every 3 years, your property gets reevaluated. So
Okay, I understand.
And we are going into a reval year.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Thank you.
Appreciate that information.
Thank you
too.
very
Thank
much.
you.
Well, then, okay. Why don't you deliver the recruitment message tonight for me, please? Clearly, it's not working for me, so if someone else would like to
We
give.
could put a help wanted sign in the local paper. We're going to have some empty seats on the Finance Committee starting June 30th of this year. If anyone is interested in applying, we would be very grateful to get applications. There's been some comments about what kind of expertise you should have, and I can assure you it's a learning curve. You can walk in here with very little expertise, and the Mass Department of Revenue will teach you. The other members of the Finance Committee and the administration will be happy to work with you. So I would encourage anyone who has any interest in it, who have legitimate questions about your taxes and how it's being spent, this is how you find out. Thank you.
Thank you. Town administrator. Quit answer an email and come up and see us. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you.
He's got his here.
I guess before you should get started, I don't know if anybody watches the selectmen's meeting. Anyone? They voted 5-0-0 for the contingent appropriation. So with that, but there were some changes made to it, so I'll turn that over to Mr. Sullivan.
If you see it, I've bolded the numbers that changed. It was to move from the town and school capital improvements, $77,996 to the library, for a total of $277,996 on the library. Capital improvements were reduced to $1197,004.
Yes, Mrs. Donahue.
Just, do you know what you would suggest, what those capital items will be?
The reduction to the capital, no.
Okay.
Are you going to supply explanation or addendum, or I don't want to add another appendix to the thing, but something that just basically highlights the amount of that capital in any form or fashion?
Yeah, I think we'll break that down. It'll probably be a handout for a town meeting. I don't see that getting into the booklet with the time constraints.
Can we use this for the Article 7, which is the contingent appropriation? Is this the
This is the overlay.
this is the overlay, but when we're writing the motion, that we're going to need this for the motion, and then on top of that, it's obviously the list for there, for the Article 7.
Yeah, you'd have the motion. I have some handouts we can also do with contingent appropriation articles and motions on there. So you break it down to the purpose, and then you'd have the contingent appropriation on there.
Okay. This leaves us with a question, and I'm going to put this to the will of the committee. This is not exactly the same Article 7 we voted on. It's changed by 77. It hasn't changed in total, but it's changed a little bit on the inside of it, how the money is divvied up. Does anybody see the need to revote the article? Anybody? Mr. All right.
Can I get some clarification? I'm looking
Sure.
for some numbers.
All right. Who made the motion?
1 second, if I could have them all.
You want clarification?
Just give me 1 minute, please.
All right.
Anybody who was in the affirmative, I believe, can ask, we're going to
Okay.
reconsider.
Yeah, I'll take that as soon as we answer Ms. Catulli's question.
Kelly, would you hand that to the chair, please?
When am I supposed to do these?
Can't answer that on camera.
Oh,
Okay.
all right, yes.
Can I just get some clarification on the additions to the library and what the reasons might have been? No, I did not watch the meeting. So in addition to,
They call it roughly 125. It's 124,
I'm sorry, 124 what?
and probably 946 or something. The library
I'm
budget.
sorry,
and-
thank you.
Yeah, about 125 is what I would call it, or just rough number.
What I mean, I was talking about, in your original, you have 88,289 in wages and 36,550. When I bring those two numbers together, that, unless I don't know how to add correctly, that exceeds even the FY13 library budget.
I don't know what you're saying.
If the additional, you got in your override budget, you have 88,000 in library wages already and 36,000 in expenses. And we're going to add another 277,000 to that in addition.
The total appropriation for them from the town should be, it would be 402,835.
Okay. And what is the game plan for that? I mean, what is this 402 gonna get?
So here's what changed, I think is the explanation.
Yeah.
We had a uncertified library when
Mhm.
we came up with the projections for this. The library board of commissioners with other whatever wisdom they came up with, decided to suddenly recertify us. I don't know what changed. It certainly, we didn't change any of our funding in FY14, but they said, we'll recertify you. And then they laid down a number for FY15, which is the 432,835. The reason we're only funding at 402,835 is that $30,000 of the revolving fund is counted towards what their number is. So you would reduce the 432,835 by 30,000. Does that?
Just to be clear, did they certify us or did they give us a waiver?
Well, they give you a waiver,
Okay.
and again, it's they gave us a number of the 432,835 in FY15, but that's less than the required number of 699,000, and but they'll certify us with a waiver if we do 432. So as far as I can tell, it's for almost lack of a better term, some sort of scheme. I can't tell where they come up with the numbers. It's arbitrary. They're saying, so you fund it by the FY13 number. Well, is that part of your overall formulas? No, it's not. So how'd you come up with that number? Well, it shows good faith from the town. What does that mean? So, but in looking at this and trying to accomplish everything we're trying to do with the services, with the contingent appropriations, having a certified library is one of those. Does this guarantee in the future years that the library will be certified? No, unless they change that scheme again of a formula.
Formula.
Formula would be a more
Archaic
appropriate.
formula.
So, I'm a little put out by the whole situation because it's another example of Boston coming down and looking at us and telling us what's good for us and how we should run our town, but not giving you any more money. Essentially, we'll also get about $18,000 in revenue, but to be part of the certification, it's going to cost us over $20,000. It's frustrating at best.
I know this is probably not going to help the situation, but they did announce, the MLBC, that they were going to review their formula. So perhaps they've started by arbitrarily setting numbers. I don't know. But, I know they're going to spend about a year, is what I understand it to be, reviewing the formula. So I'm not helping, but
No, I just, my comment was that that number exceeded the FY 2013 number, and that kind of just blew my mind a little bit. But now that you're talking about, this number jumping back and forth, I do feel like they're kind of hanging us by the throat. However, if that is where the administration and the Board of Selectmen and the town want to put their effort into and to invest into, then by all means, I think that's a great idea. I just still feel like we're being held hostage. All right.
I don't think my tone was any different than
No.
yours. So,
I'm just frustrated
yeah,
by it.
yeah.
I am happy that we're not going to lose a library, but it's still so overwhelming, even with these extra appropriations, to know that there's still so much to be done. And if that is where we want to put our efforts and hoping to, raise awareness and bring people into our town, then I can certainly empathize and support that.
Yeah, the budget, last night a lot of people came and said, don't close the doors to the library. Well, decertifying does not close those doors. We still can run a library. We lend out more books than we get, and they're saying, well, Wareham needs to hold its weight by putting more money into the library. Well, if we're already lending out more than we're taking in, I think we're doing a pretty good job of it, so.
Off target a little bit.
Tom, you're going off target, I don't believe it.
I read in the paper this morning that Falmouth is spending $19,000 in Woods Hole and $19,000 on their library in Woods Hole and $19,000 in Falmouth, and the rest of it is private. They don't spend any other thing. So their whole library system is funded by people within the community rather than the tax revenue collected.
Barnesville has a similar situation. I think they have 5 libraries altogether, of which most of them are nonprofits being run that way.
Well, I think if you looked at the overall, and you're probably a better expert on this than I am, but when you look at the overall of what is spent on the library between the town, the Friends, and everybody else
Foundation.
involved, the foundation, it's a bigger number than just what we're looking at, so.
Okay. Yes,
One
Mrs. Donahue.
Final comment on that. I also agree with Bonnie that I'm very happy that the library is going to be functional. I'm a little concerned about the way it came about. Democracy at its best, there's pressure, that's fine. We work through this. It feels a little bit like we were drawing a line in the sand with the state, and we blinked and the state gave a little bit, so maybe that's okay. My bigger concern is how it affects the overall plan going forward, because part of what we were looking at was backing down that library number, still continuing to keep it open, not have it certified, obviously, was our expectation, but we would continue to do the improvements there with the eye towards doing what we needed to do to make it fully functional. And I heard the expression used last night, I believe, fully fund the library, and I'm not sure that that means the same thing to all of us. We're funding the library now. Was there a commitment from the Board of Selectmen that we would continue to increase the funding out on this 5-year projection that we have? So is this going to have to come out of capital every year, or is this just what we're doing for the first year going forward?
Do you want that answered by the new chairman of the Board of Selectmen?
He doesn't have to if he doesn't want to.
He raised his hand. He'd love to answer it. Anybody have any objections to Mr. Slavin, Chairman Slavin, answering the question?
Congratulations on your new position,
And good luck.
baby.
This better be good.
It's always good. We deliberated yesterday on this issue. As Mr. Sullivan said, it's a very uncomfortable situation when you get extorted. I don't know how else to put it. I'll be very direct. It's not the way you do business. And the way the Library Commission worked, I'm not very happy with it. We went up there and we talked to them. And they actually, one of the commissioners made a recommendation to Peter and I that maybe the town should consider decertifying itself, come back in 3 years with a whole new number when we get our financial house in order. This wasn't us saying it. This was one of the commissioners. So just everybody understand that. And the constant feedback from we got last night was we're closing the library. That was never the case. Now, as far as the answer on funding, we're funding the library, I believe, at the previous number that they had at 432. That's all it's committed to. The library commissioners still have our MAR, I think, for next year over $700,000. If they expect us to be funding that library at $700,000, the answer is no. We will fund it at the 432 that we've committed to for now. That's it. If they come back next year and expect us to go up like that, then the answer will be no.
This will be the first time that that's what I've heard. What I heard was that they were going to, what it was going to be funded for the next 5 years.
I think someone misunderstood what was said last night.
Okay, we'll pull the tape, but that's what
That's what we agreed to. Fully funding means that we would accept any increase going forward, and that's not the case.
Regardless, it's going to be funded for the next 5 years at that level.
At the level we agreed to last night.
Okay, no 2.5% increase like the MLBC would, well,
We've only
doesn't
agreed,
matter.
doesn't matter. We've only agreed to fund it at that level.
Okay.
Yeah, the only thing we can agree to fund on is FY15 through these. These are the,
Well,
just to understand, the plan that we all agreed to that we were going to sponsor is what we projected out for the 5 years. There's nothing that obviously makes us having to do anything after the first year by the way the rules are. But we have to take everybody's word, this is what we're going to do. Because you can't do anything more than 1 year on paper.
Any other questions on this?
Yes, I'm still a little confused. It seems to me that, correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm also glad that the library is going to function because I think it's important, and I think it's important, as Chairman of the Selectmen said, that we planned on continuing to keep the libraries open. That's the intent. It sounds as though the state has come back and said you have to spend this amount in order to maintain your certification for the library. Is that correct?
for FY15.
For FY15. And so that was the effort that was done. Where is the money going to go? I see originally we had 124,000 planned. So where is the extra money going in?
Salaries and
Salaries.
expenses.
That was addressed last night by, I believe, the selectmen as well, that there was going to be a plan.
I asked last night for a list in 2 weeks from the director, to Mr. Sullivan, and the director of the library, to explain to us what that $100,000 was going to give us in increased services. We had expressed our concerns that we had asked before about the library being open 1 night a week, which it hasn't been. The library closed, I believe, a disproportionate number of days, considering the reduction of last year. So we want to see what the $100,000 is buying us. $100,000
worth of services.
And if they can't show that, they're not going to have tax much.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Normally, I would take the last word on this, but I'm just not going to at this point.
Thank you.
Mr. Sullivan, please continue. For the article, we'll need the 5 years projection along with that to put in as an explanation, correct? Okay.
Yeah, we've got within.
My boss says yes.
Within the contingent budget, you've got the 5-year projection on it. I mean, with the handout, we can bring that out for the 5 years if you want.
Well, I'm more concerned with the article. The article, we've committed to giving them the 15 plus the 4 year, I think it's 15 plus the 4, and I know it's in here, but it's not correct.
No, I've got an updated one for you guys, so.
Well, aren't you just
yeah.
nice? But that piece needs, I would break that piece out for the article so they can see the 5-year projection, because that is gonna be a question that someone asks.
I think, do we want to do the, for just that, or do the whole, just do it for everything on there? I think, if we're just pulling out one line, I'm just getting,
It's a contingency appropriation, so we need to show where it's being spent, not the total budget for that line. But I do agree we need to be able to show the total budget. So do you
I'm
want
not
to?
sure what you're asking.
Okay, what I'm saying is, if you look at the balanced budget, it has a 5-year projection behind it.
Yeah.
Right now, if we just put this in for the contingency appropriation, it doesn't have the 5 years behind it.
You mean for him to
Oh,
update
yeah.
this page that we had here?
I understand that, but is that what we're going to put
Yeah.
in there under Article 7?
Yes, we want,
See, that's gonna be confusing, because that's the entire budget. I understand we need to have the entire budget in there.
no, what we're saying is we can do just the 5 years with the contingent.
That's fine.
Take this
Yes.
portion out and break it out for the 5 years.
That's fine. That's what I was, boy, I'm really tired. I'm just not communicating well here at all.
All right.
All right, next, anything else you got for us?
I think that's the hit list.
The hit list?
Yep, of topics tonight for me.
Well,
Next time.
I wanna go over, I wanna make sure that everybody's in sync, and Kelly here has what she needs from you.
Did you guys vote on this one? You want to
no,
re-vote?
we're gonna
We're-
wait till
we're
you
gonna
leave. We're gonna
revote.
vote
We're-
behind your back.
See, that's a word I should stop using, but I just got back from Atlanta, Georgia, and it's coming back again. We're going to, not gonna, we're going to revote that, I believe.
Derek, excuse me.
I don't see that we can we? Hold on.
Yes, we can. We have new information. It's not the same one as it was before, so I'll have to ask for a reconsideration on it. So we'll do that after we,
Are you, excuse me, are you available, you and Rich Bowman available to do motions next Thursday, perhaps?
My boss is on the table over there. I imagine we would be. So.
Okay. Mrs. Smith, are you available next Thursday to do motions? Okay. I will check, I believe Joan's available too, so I will hope that the weather's good and I will play hooky for a day and come work for the town. And for point of clarification for Mr. Hyatsma, who asked earlier, we're actually not going to be voting on two budgets. The way that we're working this out is we have a balanced budget, which shows 2.5 million in cuts that we had to come up with, the very painful balanced budget. We have to have a balanced budget to go get our tax rate set, so we will vote for that. Hopefully that will pass. We don't believe that's a sufficient budget, so we're asking for the override. The override will not take place on town meeting floor. What's going to happen on town meeting floor is we're going to approve, if an override is approved by the town at the ballot, that's how we will spend the money. So we're referring to it as an overlay. The way you would see it is we take the balanced budget, which already has the cuts in it, and this is the money that we would put back into it. So you're only going to see 20 items, 15, 20 items here, and where they will go back into it.
And that will be a separate vote?
That will be a separate vote. So we will approve a budget, bare bones budget, so that we have a functioning budget to go into the next year. Then, if an override is approved by the town, we already are able to spend it. Otherwise, we would then have to go to the fall town meeting and fight about how it's being spent. And part of our plan in doing this is to show people why we need the money, where we need it, and how we're going to spend it going into it. So we're already really committed to these items here. And what we're going to show you is that projection 5 years out.
Thank you very much for the clarification.
She must have drank a Red Bull.
Yerba mate, it tastes like something that I raked off my lawn, but it's a tea without caffeine. I gotta tell you, it's challenging.
Kelly has a list of explanations she needs from you. If you need to enlist a little help, let us know.
All right.
Marilyn volunteered to come in and help.
I was drinking something besides yerba mate when I did that, apparently.
Now, if you need some help, what's your cutoff date? What's your drop dead date?
Tomorrow.
Yesterday?
Okay.
Tomorrow.
All right.
I think the other item is that we should probably express that the contingent budget, if it passes, so the contingent appropriation, it does not automatically go to the ballot. The selectmen still have to vote to put it on the ballot.
I think they made that clear last night, but
Yeah.
I think in our explanation, did we not have that?
Yes.
I think I covered that pretty
All right.
thoroughly
Dug
in
in
there.
deep in there.
I may have used too many big words when I did it, but the reality is I covered it. So.
Right, because the override really doesn't even need town meeting approval. It's the selectmen put it on a ballot. We're just showing town meeting how we would spend that
Right.
money if we got it.
I think it still has to be appropriated, we're just doing it ahead of time.
You'd
Yeah.
still have to appropriate. The override could pass, but you couldn't spend on any of that
Right.
money without a town meeting
Right,
appropriation.
Which would defeat the purpose if you don't have the teachers in place prior to the fall.
Exactly, and we're trying to
So.
explain to people, this is what we really need it for. These are the numbers.
Is everybody talking fast, or is it just me?
You've been down south, they talk
Oh, what's
really
going-
slowly down there.
We want to wrap this.
Yeah.
Why
Um,
was
the
Sorry to
only-
go home.
The only other item is part of the balanced budget. We're probably, it's an HR function, it's something we're looking into, and it's how soon we have to give notification to an employees. Whether it's 60 days out and such by some of the contracts. So, we're probably looking within the next couple of weeks to start giving notification of dismissals effective July 1 of 2014. So I don't want anybody to start panicking or thinking there's some sort of arm twisting or anything. It's what we have to do by the contracts, and we have to go by the fact of that the budget that's passed at town meeting immediately thereafter is the only appropriations that we have. So just when you hear the scuttlebutt,
cutting it close?
yeah.
I'd just like to make one more clarification to the audience, because I've heard many people tell me that we're using scare tactics. I don't like that term. It's not scare tactics. It's what I call consequences. We have been telling people, the Finance Committee have been telling people that we are really in trouble. We're going to be in trouble. We've hit the wall. We're there. Yes, we can rearrange some of the numbers and keep the library open if we get that money. It's not scare tactics, it's reality. This is where we're at. So I understand that not everyone will be able to vote for the override, because I understand they have financial concerns of their own. I'm hoping that people will look to the bigger picture for the financial concerns of the town as a whole. Because when you say layoffs like that, my stomach really hurts. That just is so sad. Sorry, thank you.
You want to hang around for just a little bit? Okay.
Want to, or will
Do you have something for us tonight?
Me?
That would be the only person in the back of the room?
I don't have my long glasses,
Oh,
no, I do not, I wanted to come by and speak to you afterwards, so.
okay, so we haven't heard anything yet.
But I've not heard back. The DOR did call, I called him back, it's just a phone tag thing right now, but.
Okay.
I will have something, but that's our problem.
Okay,
But so we'll go from there, or whatever the consequence is of it tonight, so.
okay,
Okay?
thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll tell you how this works. Yes.
Can I just clarify on basically, most teachers' contracts call for notice 90 days or a very large number before the start of the new year. So that's why you'll see, and that's done by the school department, but they have to send out those pink notices at that point, pink slips at that point. So that's, it's just a contractual thing, and it's in every community in the Commonwealth.
What I'm gonna do now is I'm going to ask for a motion for reconsideration on Article 7. If you are interested in doing it, I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of reconsidering our vote on Article 7?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? What are we, 8 tonight? 7. 7-0-0. All right, so now we're reconsidering our vote. Let me turn my mic back on. Let's open the floor for discussion. Mr. Worthen?
I think we should consider turning the library into a nonprofit and get out from under it, get out from under the employees and get out from under the benefits, and go back to the money the way we had it allocated.
Okay. Mr. Hurd? You're thinking, I can tell. Okay, while you're thinking, let me do this real fast. When we vote for articles like this, we have to vote, and maybe I'm wrong, and please correct me if I'm wrong. We're not voting how we personally feel. It's what is in the best interest of the town. That's what I think as a finance committee, we should be voting what we consider in the best interest of the town, not our personal interests. That's my first thing. The second thing is, a lot of work went into this budget. A lot of, I guess, discussion between the schools superintendent and our town administrator. A lot of work went into this, and they came up with their best numbers. However, they do have bosses, if you will, and their bosses can make decisions. My first concern, and let me tell you, I don't like when anybody touches anything that I think is correct, and we voted on it, and we all felt very strongly about it, and I was comfortable with that number, and I'm still comfortable with that 4.5. And to be honest with you, if it was more than what it was, changing between the two, I would be uncomfortable with it. It's $77,000. The school, and I'll have Mr. Sullivan explain if you'd like. I believe he had discussions with the superintendent, and they both agreed that they could find the money. And they didn't seem extremely, I mean, I know they're not happy about it, but it's $77,000. Ultimately, it didn't change the number that much. So I'm comfortable with the overall number, and it needs to be done. However, one other thing, I don't know when the school is voting on this. Do we know?
Right now.
All right. Let's hope for no more changes. Yes, Mrs. Donahue.
Through the chair to Mr. Worthen. Mr. Worthen, you would have more knowledge about the library structure than pretty much anybody else sitting up here. Is it feasible or realistic to think that Wareham could do that? Obviously, we can't do it this year, but is that something practical, or have you not actually said this at home?
I have not, Sherby's not involved in the library at all.
Okay.
She's a user, but I think libraries are going to change significantly over the next 10 years or so. And here we've got $400,000 a year that we're spending on something that maybe we ought to put it in the hands of the community and let them run.
Mrs. Catulli.
I know Claire could probably correct me, since she knows the history of this town probably better than anybody in this room. But I do believe the Wareham Library was a private library at one time, funded by volunteers in this town, and then became under the town itself. That being said, that may be something for the future. However, for the last couple of years, one of the points I've made on this committee was having leadership of this town say where they want their money to go and what their priorities are. And I think that I've just been told that, okay? And I feel confident that something is being done for a positive way. And if this is where the leadership of this town wants us to go, then I think I have to go along with that.
Thank you. Anyone else? Here we go. Mr. Hurd. I've been waiting.
Oh, no. I'm comfortable with the contingent appropriation as presented tonight. I think Tom raises a very good point, and it's something that we have to look at, not only for the library, we have to look at it for all the town departments, town facilities, how we can best use them, and what is the most appropriate way of funding each one of these. And maybe we will find that perhaps the library should be mostly privatized, or all privatized. But I think at this point in time, I would be comfortable in voting for the contingent appropriation as presented tonight, with the understanding, and I think the understanding has been going all along, that what we're doing is, this is part of an overall process within the town. We're not saying that this is the way we're going to be running the business in the future. We are looking at teaming with other towns. We are looking at combining schools. We are looking at other ways of saving money. And I think that Tom's very correct that we've got to continue that. And with that understanding, I'm perfectly willing to vote for the contingent appropriation we have before us. But that's a charge that all town departments have to address, is how can we best utilize the funds that we have, and are there places that we can save money in the future?
Thank you, Mr. Hurd. Mr. Tufts.
Just quickly, I think that what we've seen with the state oversight of their portion of the library funding and or decision-making is a microcosm of what we face in most town departments, and the mechanism for funding everything from the school department to the road repairs to how we set our tax rate. And you know, we had a question earlier tonight on just the process, and we had to sit there and say, you know, well, it's not really, you know, the best way to do things, but unfortunately we have to go around the game board the way that the rules lay it out. And in order to get these, in order to get the overall, you know, to get to the end of the game, we have to comply with these rules. And some of these things can't be changed overnight. And in a lot of the cases that with this appropriation or the contingent, the override, is that we need money to save money, and we need money to restructure. And you know, these things are going to pay off dividends in the future, and allow us that flexibility. That you can imagine the flexibility to change, but you imagine the time that has just been spent on this, just from October to now, say, on all the effort that everyone is just to try to hold on to what's here and still provide services for people. And to think that if you had a little flexibility in those numbers, where you weren't always facing catastrophe, that where all that ingenuity could go, and what, all the other things that could be worked on, and how you could, you know, best serve people in the town of Wareham. And you know, I hate to see money taken out of capital, you know, where we're so lacking in that area, but we don't need the distraction. We need to worry about the overall goal, which is to try to get ourselves to be stable and move ahead with phase 2 of 12 phases, however it may be. It's a long process, but we need to start now and move in the right direction. So I support the, and you need a motion, I guess, but I would.
Not yet.
Not yet, okay.
Not yet, but we'll get one in a moment.
All right.
Anyone else? You want it? When I first got on a board in this town, it was a library board. The reason I got on the library board is, in case you haven't been here around here a long time, the library was a battleground. And it did a lot of damage to the library. I don't want it to be a battleground anymore. I think that if, with a proper plan of execution, we can fund it at least for this year. But I also agree with Mr. Worthen that we have people out there that perhaps it should be private. I know at one point Spinney was privately held. So maybe it's something we can consider. The other thing, but I hesitate, and here's why I hesitate, because I'm not sure. We're not a Falmouth. We're not a big city. So I don't know how much support they have, but I really believe this is something that has to be explored. Again, this budget or this contingent appropriation is meant to position us. It's not the end of the game. It's the beginning of the game, or beginning of the plan, if you will, projection. I don't know, everybody calls it everything else, but what it does is it allows us to operate, as Mr. Tuff says, with a little bit of cushion so that we can make some of the decisions that need to be made, so that we can explore some other options for saving money and consolidation and do other things, instead of every year looking at another 10, 12, 23 employees, cuts in services. That's what we're doing here. And we're not saying we're funding the library and everything's going to, that's just what we're going to keep doing. What we're saying is that it puts us in a position where we can explore an option like Mr. Worthen talked about. And again, I think even in a joint venture between the town and a private, I mean, there's several ways to look at it, but it's something that we have to be in a position to do. Right now, we're not in that position. I'm not a fan of the MLBC for the way that this went down. I can't imagine they can take such an archaic formula first and apply it to a town, and second, tell us, never mind the formula, this is what you need. That's not following a rule, if you will, or whatever. So I don't want it to be a battleground anymore. I want to use this budget to position us so that we can go into the future and make some of the decisions. One of the questions that came up at our joint meeting, which I think is a very interesting question, is if you look at the 5-year plan, you see capital falling off after a certain point. Yes, it does fall off, but also after 4 years, we're no longer funding stabilization because we fully funded it. We now have an opportunity to use the free cash, which we will have, for capital. So we're positioning ourselves not to fail, but to use what we have and be fiscally responsible. So I'm going to, here we go with that gonna word, I'm going to support this from that standpoint. So with that said, if anybody else has nothing to say, I will entertain a motion for favorable action on Article 7, contingent appropriation.
I move favorable action on Article 7, contingent appropriation, based on the numbers presented to us this evening.
Second?
Okay, she went first, sorry. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? All those abstain? 8-0-0.
7.
7-0.
7-0.
800 sounds better, but
I'm looking and I know
Joan would
Joan's
vote
not
for it
here.
if she were here.
Joan would too, but Dom is not here, so I don't know why.
Tom, thank you. I think
Thank you, Tom.
I think it's very important that we be united on this, and I think your point is well heard, and we will work in that direction.
Okay,
Sorry.
now let's go to the keeper of the records. Kelly, what do we got left on? What do we got left?
Oh, this is why you have to stay, Derek, so he can scold you about the things you haven't turned in yet.
No, we've already
Already
scolded.
have?
While you were over there on your Red Bull. If I don't say it enough, we appreciate everything. This has been an exceptionally hard year for all of us, because what we've tried to accomplish is much bigger than what they have in the past. So I appreciate everything you've done, your staff's done, everything the school superintendent and her staff has done, because this is a lot of work. So my hat's off to you, and you're very easy to work with from our standpoint. We actually like you too. So
Thank you. The easiness, Kelly may object to that, but not.
She just jabbed me with a sharp object when I said, so,
Working together, but no, Kelly is, I have to, working with Kelly and getting everything together, keeping us organized. She's one of the main components of getting it done, so I appreciate all her help and everybody on the board.
if I do look good, it's because she makes me look good.
We actually like you. That's supposed to be
Okay,
an
what do
endorsement.
we got left?
We could have said sometimes.
Yeah.
Nothing on the collective bargaining agreements?
You got 22 on the,
Yeah, we do have, what are we gonna do with 20 on annual, if we can.
That's the Balkan, Ray, and Lynn Road, is that not ready yet? Being pulled, so we don't have to vote on that. No vote. Leave it, it's not, it's being pulled. Oh, the advice will be, thank you for pulling it, one less article for us to vote on. I mean, that's,
We should have one contract that I believe will be ratified before town meeting. There's a possibility of a second one. So as soon as we have that, we'll have the information out to the finance committee. The transfers on the special, we received notification from the Veterans District that they have added a lot of veterans this year, and they're $31,000 over their estimate, what they gave us for the budget. So we will have to transfer $31,000 into that line. Do not ask me where it's coming from right now. That's what we're looking at, because we have to project all our departments out till the end of the year to see where we would have some room. It also hurts because within the line, we've been trying to hold back to maintain the goal of the $500,000 cuts from the DOR. So items such as that, especially ones that we can't control, that's an outside issue, is difficult.
they would, I'm not saying they're going to understand it. I would suspect that if it's out of our control, then they would be a little more lenient than if it was something we could control.
Yeah.
All right.
Was there a change in the Board of Health lease vehicle?
Yes, they pulled it.
Yeah.
They pulled it?
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you got left? Well, the budget transfers, we're not going to get to the last minute, is that correct?
Yeah, I would say we're probably voting on that. If we could do it the week before, great, and hopefully not the night of.
Well, I'll put together a generic, I think I may have put together a generic for the budget transfers. Is that correct? I did it already? I have a generic from advice standpoint, but don't mess me up. All right? Okay.
You got 22.
22, which is the flooring for the Agawam Village. We were hoping to get an update from a legal aspect as to whether or not it was structural or not structural. We don't have that at this point. It leaves me very uncertain how we should do this. Yes, Mr. Worthen.
this is Rich Bowen. So think saving them from collapse is the break point as to whether you can use CPC funds. And I don't think anybody, from what I saw, there was no danger of the floor collapsing because of the vinyl tile.
Hold on just a minute.
Yeah, that's what I was basing my.
Yeah.
Please use the microphone. Because I just didn't, so.
Hi. I don't think, I mean, I wanted to ask you what Rich Bowen, I unfortunately, due to my schedule, was not able to either come to a meeting or hear Rich Bowen during the CPC articles explain to the selectmen what their interpretation of it was. So I'm not, here's, you know, where we stand. I don't feel like I'm confident enough tonight to even comment, because I haven't seen that information. And we've been in contact with CPA in Boston, DOR, and there have been conversations, and they also wanted to know what Rich Bowen's take on it was too. So there's definitely room there, and we want to get you, I am going to get a reading only from my curiosity to see, you know, are we in the boundaries, or are we not in the boundaries? Not because I'm trying to push, you know, anything, But, you know, we really do need it, and that's my bottom line.
Mr. Slavin, excuse me, Chairman Slavin, what was the vote of the Board of Selectmen last night? Did you guys vote on this article? Oh, I should have just asked Kelly. It's a lot easier.
It says here
400.
4-0.
What's the pleasure of the board? Mr. Worthing?
First of all, Jackie, the money's there, the money's available. I would like to be able to support you. It makes no sense to pass it, and then it goes up to the people in Boston. They say the CPC is a misuse of CPC funding, and whatever they do from there, who knows? So just because I may vote against this, it does not mean that I don't.
No, I know.
I want to support what you're doing.
I understand that. I absolutely, because as individuals, everyone in this room can vote whatever they want. But I think that, because, Chairman McDonald alluded to this earlier about another article. As a finance committee, my impression is your vote as a finance committee, not your individual votes.
Yeah,
and on town meeting floor, we're all part of the legislative body, except for a few members. I think it's the selectmen and the town administrator, but then everybody else is the legislative part of our town. That's why all of these problems you discuss, even though they're all on your shoulders, they're all of our problem, one way or another. And so I'm sorry that I'm not more prepared tonight, because I really want it put to bed, and I want an answer too. But the state actually is in a lot of transition right now, believe it or not, because of the leaving of Governor Deval Patrick, and some of the people that sit on these boards and committees that make these very important decisions for us down below are not available as they were a year ago. So that's where we stand.
No, okay, so let me make this easy. We're just one vote
Yes.
at town meeting. All we are is one vote. But as a committee, our job is to advise. And it's difficult to advise if you don't have all the information. However, I've heard arguments both ways on this. And I have to tell you at this point, unless somebody comes up with a definitive answer one way or the other, I think it's something we have to vote on. So
I would tend to agree with that also, because there's been a lot of discussion about CPA money, additional taxes being paid. One of the things that we have been arguing with the board, trying to explain to the public, is that we are trying to use this in the most practical, advantageous ways that we can. There's also been an outcry about the condition of the buildings over there, and I think for years we talked about that. I guess the concern we all have is if it's not an allowable use, then it's not going to go forward anyway.
Correct. So as soon as I get that ruling, that's what we'll know. And unfortunately, I can't give you that tonight, but we are working diligently to try to get this resolved. So I'm not going to take any more of your time.
we appreciate your efforts.
No problem.
I'll entertain a motion for favorable action on Article 22 or 23? 22, flooring for Agawam Village.
Do you want to discuss whether we should vote on it? Is everyone comfortable on voting on it?
Vote on the information we have available.
That's what we have
Right.
available.
I'm not comfortable in voting on it.
Okay, that's 1 for, 1 against, 2 and 1.
And one of the questions I had is, if perchance we vote in favorable action on this, and it's found that the money cannot be used, then what happens? What is the significance of that?
Oh, hold on 1 second. Can I just ask a quick question? When it comes to any article, if actually, before anybody speaks, if it's not an allowable, I'll be the first one, and I don't know, Ms. Smith can answer this question, can I withdraw it at town meeting?
Hold on, we got everybody talking once. Go ahead, but introduce yourself for those who don't know you.
Thank you. Nancy Miller, and I'm with Community Preservation. The articles that have been submitted will be completely vetted before town meeting. If there is any legal challenge, or if the state or anyone legally says that we cannot do this, we will pull the article. We have done this before, and that's just the way it has to be. It will not go through if it's illegal. Will not be presented if it's illegal.
Not acceptable.
So,
Not
David,
allowable.
No,
The-
we're
the
not
risk-
going to allow it.
Not illegal.
Yeah. the risk that we
Yeah.
run is if we vote in favor of it and it's found not to be a valid use, we look like, oh, we weren't doing our job right. If we vote before we have all the information, if we know if it is or not. But I guess I would take the point that that's not really up to us to determine whether it is or not.
Exactly.
The interesting thing is, we can include that in our advice.
Yeah.
However we vote, we can include that. At this point, we're still waiting for a legal opinion on whether this is allowable or not. However, if this is allowable, I don't know what else to do. I mean, to me, that's probably the most,
Which article are we talking?
the most
Asbestos flooring.
sound way of doing it.
I think that's
already been
correct. I think we have to make it
Um,
very clear.
Excuse me, you're talking about the asbestos flooring?
Yes.
My understanding is that's already been vetted. We presented initially 3 articles for affordable, or for the Agawam housing unit. One of those had to be pulled because the DOR said that is not an appropriate use of CPC funds. The other 2 articles that you have before you have been approved already. And that's why they're on the warrant, correct?
No, not from the DOR, from the town
From Rich,
council.
so- I'm sorry.
But
from
they've
Rich.
sought further guidance from the Department
Exactly.
of Revenue.
Exactly. And at this point, our understanding is that the only article that was questionable financially was the one that was pulled. So these 2 should be going forward.
So if we go through the parade of horribles, let's call it that, it passes at town meeting. And, you can't do anything until the AG approves the articles and such. AG says that this was not an allowable use, does not approve the article. Then what you'd have to do is, obviously, they wouldn't do the work. You can't expend the funds because it's improper. And at the next town meeting, you'd have to have an article to rescind
To
those
rescind it.
funds.
Okay. Good enough.
Done that one too.
Yes.
I mean, we ought, just in fairness to Rich, he said it sounded as if the Housing Authority case on the kitchen floor is that they're in such bad shape they might fall through. If that's the case, then it works. When I went over there, there was no.
You went over in one unit, there were 39 other
You
units.
took,
I know,
this
I
is in
took
building
you-
1, is that correct, where the
No,
issue is?
The building 2 is where the issue is, you were in building 5.
I know that, but
I
then,
just showed you a unit to show you the unit along with the flooring, but yeah, I mean, yes, there is a problem.
you knew why I was there, and you should have taken me to the one that was where I would have fallen through, and then you'd been rid of me.
I know.
Okay.
Not
Well,
falling through,
let's
it's
stop there.
destruction to the bottom part of the floor. I
Let's
mean,
not beat this to death.
I move favorable action
Thank you.
on Article 22, community preservation flooring for Agawam Village.
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Cattouli. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? So we've got 5-2? All right, 5-2.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck on all your hard work.
This
Thank you.
completes this,
Tom, we
yes.
better not find you underneath there with flashlights at night. They'll call the
This is
police.
icky. I'll tell you later.
Maybe they won't.
All right, we got to get through this. Now we're on to the great part of the night. I don't know that we need, well, we might need Derek for this little last piece.
What's that?
We're going to talk about how we're setting up the booklet.
No, well, we just need to tell him what he has to give us to get into it.
And you know what if Kelly sends you an email in the morning, you'll take care of her, won't you?
Kelly is my,
Number 1 priority in the morning.
she is everything.
Before you do anything else, Kelly's on the list. Okay. Then we don't need you.
Oh, it's nice
But now,
not to be
keep in
needed.
mind, the budget goes in with the 5-year projection for 6.
Yep.
The contingency goes in with the budget, or for the, whatever it is. Do we want to put the entire contingency or whatever budget, start to finish, in the back of the book?
So I'm trying to figure out how it makes sense to the general public that often I forget that they're not watching the selectmen's meeting, they're not watching the FinCom meeting, they're not living and breathing this. So I'm trying to see what makes sense to the general public that's coming in. I would think we would have the balanced budget, then we'd put the contingency also showing the 5 years. So in just that spreadsheet, except going out 5 years. And then if we wanted to put it all together, because last night one of the selectmen grew confused over it, and I'm thinking if a selectman's getting confused, that it's probably doesn't bode well.
Well, you just don't want to give me that opening to even say that at this point. So, how does the board feel about this? I understand for the actual article what we have to have, but do we want to put the revised contingent appropriation total budget in the back of the book, or is this something, yes?
What, can you make another column on that where the money would be added in, what lines, if the contingent has? Without doing the whole.
That's
Yeah.
part of the.
Yeah, but without doing the whole thing over again. See, I am resigned to the fact that no matter how many pieces of paper we put in that warrant, we are not gonna answer every question.
No, there's no doubt.
So,
But we're
you
going
know.
to knock down a great deal of
right,
questions,
but
so.
we don't want someone picking up the contingent budget and flipping through that,
Yeah.
thinking that that's the,
I think I'm in agreement.
So-
There's difference between enough information and too much information.
So the balanced budget in full,
Right,
the contingent appropriations with the 5-year projection.
right.
That's it. I think that's fine.
Wait a minute,
Next,
whoa,
then-
hold on.
What you
Mrs.
were showing.
Cattouli.
Well,
I
I,
don't have it in front of me.
what did I do with my thing? Oh, thank, I'm sorry.
Can't
So,
find mine, but
the balanced budget presented as this without the 5-year outward?
No, the balanced budget should be, the
Goes
2
out.
prior years, the budget year.
And the
This.
5-year
and
out?
And the
Yeah.
5 years out.
Okay, all right, in
So
its
that's gonna be
entirety.
in there, in its
Yeah.
entirety.
Okay, so this will be Article 6, and then Article 7 will simply be this plan, but with the 5-year extension on the
Yeah.
end. Well, that
Yeah.
makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And in voting Article 6, and Madam Moderator can correct me, obviously, we're not going to vote out 5 years, but that's more just for people.
Right,
to-
for
For
them
informational
information.
purposes.
Are we going to vote I'm sorry, here I go open up a can of worms, but, I've never understood this whole going through it line by lining, putting a hold on anything, because for explanation purposes, I get the point, but it's not like they can really change anything, one line.
Actually, they can.
Yeah, they can vote, reduce it, and increase it.
But don't they have to, if they're gonna
Nope.
amend the budget, they don't have to balance it.
Nope.
They can amend it, and you
Yeah.
have to figure out how to
And
balance it.
then we would have to call another town meeting to balance the budget.
That is absolutely a crime.
It is a crime and it's a joke.
It is a joke. Because if you're going to take it from one area, there needs to be another area identified, or you have an unbalanced budget, and it actually goes against what we're trying to accomplish at town meeting.
Yep.
I don't know, but I understand legally they can do that. But then,
My only concern, well, let's put it this way, I will hope that, this is gonna go out in the paper, and that these are gonna be available on a certain day, and I would certainly hope that they would be available, and people would start reading and understanding what this contingent means, and that they're not gonna attack this balanced budget in some way, with what they might consider as a better plan. It's not gonna change the bottom line that this is all we have. I just hope that people will educate themselves a little bit, that we have thought ahead, there is a plan.
okay, anybody else want to weigh in on that? I think we're all pretty, yes, please do.
Okay, I think I'm confused. When you do the Article 6, you're gonna give them something like this. That's gonna be in a booklet.
Yeah.
It's in the booklet, just like
Okay,
that.
Just like that. On Article 7, you're only giving them this, or you're giving them this with this?
No,
You,
this is what you're giving them. This piece right here that shows 15 and the
Which
two
is-
prior, well, 15 and the 5.
What page is that, Larry?
That is on page 6 in the,
Override.
yes. It's going to look like that. Is that correct, Derek?
yes, no.
Do we need it broken down in more detail? Is that what you're saying
No.
earlier?
No, I don't
Okay.
think so.
All right. Do you see it?
So page 6 of 6, which is...
5 of 6. See, 5 of 6.
Okay, so that's what they're getting, and they're also getting this.
No,
They're gonna get that, Marilyn,
Right,
with that number adjustment.
right, in here.
yeah,
Yes,
that's it.
that's all they're
No,
gonna
that's
get.
what they're going to see.
So those would essentially be the same exact documents,
but he's
except
going to
what
give
they
it
would be getting is going out 5 years. So
Okay.
that they could see for 5 years that that's, you know, how it continues forward and is expended.
And you're going to take this, adjust it for the changes last night, and stick it out over 5 years. and
Yeah, I
give-
have copies for everyone if it would make it lives easier.
Well, I'm just more interested, well,
I
we'll
need
take
more
the copies,
paper.
but she just needs it,
Yeah.
that part of it for the, for Article 7.
Yeah, and that's one of the things, I mean, my biggest fear always is we've changed these, we've moved them around, we've formatted, unformatted, that the last thing we need are these last minute errors and such that, you know, just makes, loses credibility instantly, because just some small error, and it's because we've redone that a million times, so.
I just want it to be, it's, you know me, I like my little tick marks next to everything. All right.
Use a microphone.
Is there another question? Did you have a?
Pay no attention to that man behind the chair.
And on the library, I have a question on the library. Going forward, we're gonna fund them 204, 208, 212 going forward, although you said you can't go, that's just projection, right?
Everything past 15 is a projection.
Projected,
It
okay.
is a projection. The only thing we're voting on at town meeting is 15. That's all we're voting on. We're putting that in there because, and we're calling it a projection because until the school committee, now the board of selectmen, now that and then we have to, then it becomes a plan. At this point, it's a projection.
Okay, so I think fiscal year 16
I
through
hate using
17,
big
18,
words.
and 19 should say projected somewhere, so that they're not thinking, okay, we're tied into 5 years of this. I think somewhere, somehow, you gotta put projected.
Okay, I'm gonna try to make this as simple. There are some questions I'm willing to answer up front, and other questions that I really don't want to answer up front because those are usually in the explanations when we talk about these. Everyone knows this is a projection. We can't vote on anything more. We're voting on the fiscal year 2015 budget. So this other stuff, if they think we're locked into it, I welcome them to come up and ask that question because we'll tell them, no, you're not.
They're not gonna ask the question, they're just gonna assume, and then they're gonna vote it down.
We have the same projection on the balanced budget also.
So are they saying they're now going to vote
So
for
I
the?
say, it should say projected, because if not, people are gonna say, oh my God, they're spending all this money over 5 years.
Oh,
That's what I,
huh?
I think we can make that clear in our explanations.
I don't think that
when
we have to
discuss
do
it,
that.
the
We're gonna,
explanation, but you have to make it
Yeah.
clear somewhere, or you're gonna have everybody and their mother saying they're not gonna spend it.
Not everybody, because, and Mr. Tuff's right, you can plan all you want, there's still gonna be questions, and if we plan for every question, we're just gonna overplan this thing. I think it'll be covered, and if they believe that, and after hearing that at town meeting, then I'm sorry, they vote what they vote,
It's an if-then, right?
yeah.
So if they vote for the override, which is some point in the future, then we come back to these numbers for 2015.
Yes,
It's pretty simple.
it is. And we weren't trying to muddy the water. What people have asked for is what are we going to do in the future? And I always think if you're going to plan, you plan with your eye on the future. So this is why it's presented. We're not voting on those years. So, Okay, long discussion for,
One of the things that we've done in the past was we showed prior year's budgets back, but never looking ahead, and that was one of the problems. This very clearly, and again, I don't want to use that term scare tactics, I want to use reality check. We're showing you, if we vote the balanced budget this year, we're at 0, we're okay. Look what happens next year and going forward. So we can, again, we will, every time we get up to speak, we can use that word projected, because obviously these things, some of it, there will be changes to this. But we've never, I don't believe that the general public has really ever had a chance to see this 5-year projection slapped in the face with it.
Right, but I agree that we have fiscal year 14 projected.
Because we haven't finished it yet, so we don't have
Right.
year-end numbers.
And it would seem,
It seems obvious that we should put in projected in
Yes.
that little, so.
15, 16, 17, 18, and 19.
right,
Yeah.
I think that would,
You would do 16, 17, 18, 19, you wouldn't do 15.
Right, just
Right.
16, 17, 18, and 19.
right, 14 is projected because we haven't finished that yet. The balanced fiscal year 15 requested funding, that's what we're voting on. And what we've done is we've projected out a
Yeah.
5-year spending plan.
So, if we want to put projected.
Projected in there, yep.
I think projected is a good idea.
Only specifically because it does show up under FY
14.
14, so
Right.
that begs the
We
question.
could write, this is projected, so don't ask.
Yeah, that'll work.
We'll give you a T-shirt that says that, or
Or
a
make them sit
sign.
in a special section.
what's that, ask me about the override shirts? Something
I
like-
think we should use smiley faces at the top, you know, flat line and then
Okay,
gradually
okay,
frowning as it goes
okay,
up.
now we're going crazy.
There we go, it's back.
Kelly, do we need to hand you a mic? Do we have most of the what are we missing for recommendations? Some of it's probably my fault.
Well, Marilyn sent me some today, and there are a few outstanding, but I haven't had a chance to really go through to see what we have and update what I sent you the other day.
Oh, I
So,
sent one, but I didn't save my email to send.
but these are kind of what I'm looking at, for the annual that I don't have, based on what Marilyn sent me.
All right, read out those numbers.
5, 9,
Okay, so the capital plan, was somebody supposed to do, or,
We don't even have a capital plan. I mean, we have one, but we needed,
these are
Jim's
recommendations.
supposed to be putting that
Recommendations.
is
together.
that me?
yeah,
No, Jim Gilberti
was supposed to give the
supposed
explanation.
to provide.
Yeah,
the-
but that still goes to
Yeah.
Derek, and Derek has to actually do the capital plan, which should tie to what we're putting into the budget.
Right, so we
So
have
it's a
what,
two-line item thing, is it not?
we've got what from the water pollution control, those items, and
Right.
then we've got the police cruisers.
So
Alright.
that's Derek and Larry, both of whom you know how to find and yell at.
So you want me to put in a, what did we vote on that?
Favorable action, 9-0.
So you need me to do that? Oh, okay.
That's what I had on here, Larry.
5. Capital plan. What's next?
9,
What's 9?
Water pollution control?
water pollution control.
That's gotta be me.
I'm sure that's you also.
20, I guess we're
Going to pass over, so you can cross that one off.
21.
Is that, Tom, did you send me your advice?
I didn't, I see that I should have done 13, because originally it was gonna be yours, and now,
I think I did
Cross it out.
13.
We're all
I did 13.
Oh, Marilyn did 13.
Somebody did 13, I found it in there.
What about 13?
Can I read it out to us?
Not yet. We'll get to
Okay.
that in a minute.
21.
She had a red ball.
I
I'm
sent
telling you.
21 in,
To me?
yes.
So I sent it to Marilyn. Did I
I
not?
did not get it then.
All right, 21, I'll send again, because I
Find it.
know,
Okay.
watch this, I'll send it right now.
We need 22.
Wait a minute, let's see, who's 22?
Marilyn?
Marilyn's
Was I
22?
22? Oh, see, I did all the others, and I didn't do that one. Okay.
And 24.
Dominic volunteered.
Yeah.
He doesn't use the
Yeah.
computer, so, okay.
We'll do that one. Marilyn, you now have Mr. Hertz.
Oh, great, thank you. So I will get you 21, 22. Okay.
All right, so what have I got, 5 and 9, anything else?
5, 9, and then we just went
Tw-
over
it's
21,
24.
22, or 24. Dom gave
The-
that to me, we'll go over that later.
Okay.
Okay.
And then on the special, I need 3.
Let's see. LED lights, who's LED lights?
I sent something to you.
I didn't,
Did you send
To
it?
you.
Yeah, I forwarded it to her, but she couldn't
I
open
got it in Japanese, I can't open
I'll,
it.
I'll fix it and send it to her.
Okay.
6,
6 is,
but that's being passed over, so.
So we don't need
No.
that one.
Gone.
Now, are we going to write anything for 7 through 17?
That should be standard. We must
We
have.
do have something from the past,
then that's what we put in there.
Yeah, you should have the
where they
placeholder
weren't-
articles.
Yeah, they weren't negotiated yet, so so that's what
Yep.
I wrote, anyway, I thought we'd do.
Okay,
20 through 24, I
22.
don't have.
Those are the ones I sent to you, Leonard.
Every one of them? Okay.
Okay, so you have them.
All right,
just-
And
then
you
I
should
will,
have
did
24.
you do Greasella too?
I did Greasella.
All right, well then I just sent that to Marilyn, so I'll get the other ones and we're done.
And then that will be it, that's
All right.
all I'm saying.
All right.
I did not do 22, I can do 22.
What's 22?
The flooring.
No, you voted against it. That's not nice. Would you do it? We
Well, I
have,
mean, I'll write what the heck it's about.
well, it has to be done from a favorable standpoint. We support this because.
I can,
I'm sure you can read it.
I'm gonna write in a disinterested way.
And Toby
No, do what?
and
Yep, yeah. Do we have everything from?
Just confirmation that you're
Yes.
good with the lower number.
And if we don't, we'll call you. If we don't, we'll call you. That's what we do. We will get a hold of you.
Is this how you do?
So you weren't sure what these businesses were?
Okay.
No, we can ask about that, because I'm not sure.
You already voted on it, I was just curious.
Rosebud.
That's all,
Yeah, I know what that is.
because that's all I
It
did.
was nice to know what the 2 businesses were.
Okay. Any more? So we're pretty well set on that. The way the warrant will be set up, it'll have the articles, whatever, the descriptions, everything but the motions, and we'll have the motions separate. Then we're gonna have appendices. One is going to be the table of contents.
Well, no, what I did, I shouldn't have written it like that, but there'll be the table of contents.
Right.
Letters to voters, and then what do you want after that?
I want the letter of voters in the front.
In the
So
front.
that's how it will be.
All right. And then, in the back. No,
So we're gonna have letter to voters.
then the
table of
articles.
contents.
And town meeting procedures.
Well, that's
No,
what
we want to put the town, I believe we talked about this, the first appendices is the town meeting procedures, correct? That's what we had
You
discussed.
want it at the back?
Do you want it in the back or the front?
I don't care what it,
I thought we talked about putting it in the back.
You're talking about what I usually spend 15 minutes going over?
Yes,
You could put it in the back, and when I open the meeting, I could just say, if you look to the back of the warrant, you'll find the rules for town meetings.
in
and I
appendix,
can say them out
in
loud.
appendix 1. All right. Then we're going to have the 2015 balanced budget, which we've always kept separate from the article, correct? Because
I've
it's
seen
easy.
it both ways.
Yeah, I don't know. Derek, what's your take on it?
That's based off of that.
It's okay, we're spacing out. We're going to take the 2015 balanced budget and put it in an appendix.
Okay.
Is that fair?
Yep.
All right. Then we have the water pollution control budget, the indirect costs, and the capital expenses for water pollution control in another appendix. And then we have there's an EMS, got to be an EMS. That would be 7 would be EMS.
I'll need that,
All right.
I'll need that.
We have a
Can I-
cop,
can
do
I-
you have a copy of the EMS line item budget?
We can send that one over.
All right.
Need that too.
Yeah.
And then the transfer development rights, which you want to talk about?
Well, I talked to Alan. Alan, did you want that TDR as a, Alan?
No.
Oh, he was.
He's gone.
No, but remember we talked briefly, do you want that as a handout or in the warrant?
All right.
It's 8 and 9 pages, I don't want to print all that.
Okay.
It's easy to do it and also save money.
we were about to
And
hit
it
the
comes out of
planning.
somebody else's budget, not ours,
Yeah,
right?
we were going
Thank
to
you.
allocate money from their budget
We're
for
not paying
that.
for it then if we're not going in our book.
All right.
Can
And
I
that's,
ask a question?
Yep.
You
yes.
guys went through that so fast with what you're putting in the appendix. And I've seen the budget done two different ways in the booklet, okay? And I personally think that telling people we're at Article 6, oh, now flip to the back appendix to find the budget, gonna be confusing, and it's been confusing before. Now you're gonna say, now we're at Article 7, now flip to appendix page,
No,
blah, blah,
no,
blah, blah,
Article
blah.
7 is in the article.
Is in the article.
Because of the way that the Article 7 is the contingency appropriation, that will be in the article. Do you want that word?
So Article 7 will be da-da-da, and then all the data will be underneath.
The only reason I don't want to do that with the budget is because there's so many pages of the budget that between Article 6 and Article 7, you're going to have tons of pages. When the town moderator goes through it, we're all going to be looking at the balanced budget in the back.
Okay, all right.
And that, the only reason to separate them is because it's too many pages.
That's the EMS.
Right, that's the amount, but we need it cleaned up a little
Right,
bit.
Derek's gonna give it to you
As
he's
far
gonna
as
give
the
it to you
rest of it-
electronically.
The nature of the beast is to spend.
And we've got a new glossary of terms. I updated the glossary of terms to include some changes that Mr. Worthen had, as well as the definition of state aid is see the definition of cherry sheets. That's the definition. I did indirect and direct costs, and I believe I changed CPA, CPC, and there was another one I changed. What was the other one, do you remember?
The one I get you
Yeah.
on? Your favorite.
Oh, I just added that as a last sentence. So, we have a new copy, I'll send it to you tomorrow. I mean, no one else has got back with me other than Tom. Thank you, Tom. So we'll just, that will go in the back of the book as well.
Can I just go through what we
Yes,
just
now,
discussed?
everybody pay attention because this is critical.
Number, in the beginning of the warrant, it'll be the letter to voters, table of contents, then the articles. And then as an appendix, there will be the balanced budget, the glossary of terms, and the EMS and water pollution control, and I'll do that as they come in the warrant, as the articles come in the
Right,
warrant.
I would do the glossary and the
Town
town
meeting.
meeting at the very end.
At the very end,
Either at the
Right.
very beginning or the very end, but the very
Okay.
end, I think
the
is.
very end, okay.
All right, we're good to go on that.
Is the special in there also?
This is a separate
No,
book.
different
Separate
thing.
book.
We're not, but I'm not gonna put it,
That's just the articles.
that's gonna be about that big.
Yeah.
Jeez, am I supposed to hand these out, Marilyn?
Sure.
Probably changes, just pass them down.
Confusing him with my other boss.
What-
Larry emailed this, did you email that to
No, I
me?
just emailed it to Kelly and, did I email it to you?
No.
I emailed it to Marilyn to look over because we all know that last night I was writing
Yeah.
a very nice letter and then I was watching the
Then you watched the
selectmen's meeting.
selectmen's
I was
meeting.
watching the selectmen's meeting and I just at some point, I knew it was time to quit typing. This is the letter to town meeting voters, and as much as I'd like to sit here and tell you that I wrote a 4-page letter detailing everything that was going on, I kept it simple. The main, do you want me to read it out loud? I certainly don't want to read it out loud, but I'll give you a moment to read it while I look at something. Mr. Sullivan, you're dismissed.
All right. If I haven't told you before, I really like Kelly. She's
If you don't have the stuff in tomorrow, you will not like Kelly. I'm just gonna give you that warning. And I'll call your boss. Boss is. While you guys are reading that, I'll be right back. Please don't start talking about me until I get back.
Madam Chairman, I make a motion for a recess. So we don't have dead air.
Sloth can cut, we're not live.
All right.
He cuts and pastes. We're not ready for prime time yet.
Let's take over the joint. We got the.
Remember, Kelly comes first. Okay, everybody ready? I see a lot of disappointment in people's eyes.
Because you didn't say we're gonna kick the can down the road, come on.
I did not. I have a habit of writing long, long letters, and
I don't think, quite honestly, I don't think it was dire enough.
I don't know how dire you want me to get. I tried just to highlight
Oh, they're still reading.
the thing. Oh.
I have this. That's the motion for contingent appropriation, but that's all that's belong.
Let's ask me later.
You're dead, I know.
And so then, when you get so late, you know, you're gonna put it, so it's pretty clear. I mean, what the, how it's gonna go. And also, I think we need to advertise it.
I need to make a couple of comments that we've gone through this, when we're publishing things.
It's only 2 pages, come on now. So, after you. No, seriously,
That's good.
I didn't want to write, look, if I, do you remember the preamble I did for the presentation to the selectmen? That's what I wanted to write for this. However, because we're the finance committee, we need a little, that people need to understand a little bit more about the numbers. I try to keep it simple because I can go on for days and I can cite Mass General law and I can do all that fun stuff. But in the end, my wife is telling me meat and potatoes. So, but I'm open to criticism, trust me.
No, the one I had to read twice was the county and state assessments, which includes school choice. The projected impact within the balanced budget is 51%. I had to read that a couple times just to see what it pertained to, that's all. But, you know, I never believed in having a committee write one letter. It's just so difficult. We entrusted you to be the chairman and, you know.
Well, that's fine.
Of course, I had nothing to say, but no, I'm just kidding.
It is the letter from the chairman. That's
Yeah.
what they've always referred to us, but I feel like it's something that, before I go up and stand up at town meeting and say this.
I think it's great.
I want to keep it short and simple. I wrote one last year that was extremely long, and when I thought about the prospects of standing up there and giving that address, I kept thinking, if my speech is going to be that long, somebody's going to cut me off. So I took it this time and say, look, this is the consequences of this is where we're at, period. The two main articles in there are 6 and 7. Everything else we can pretty much count as their own explanations. But I wanted people to see the difference between the balanced budget and the contingent budget appropriation, because ultimately, and I say it in the conclusion, you have a deep contrast between the two. Yes. Say it in the microphone, though.
My question's about, we do not have the tools necessary to attract or obtain more revenue for the town.
Do what?
What does that mean?
I don't know, Marilyn, what does that mean? I sent it to Marilyn to add some things in.
So we can add into that the flexibility. I think I liked what Jeff had said about that earlier, that because we're in a bare bones budget, I'm not on a microphone, Bob, get mad at me.
Where's that located, Marilyn?
1, 2, 3, 4, fifth paragraph, first page.
That was the point that Jeff had made about the flexibility, using it as a tool. We don't have any extra money to do things that might make common sense. And I didn't want to get to, the letters seem to be more general, so if you can find a better way to say that.
I'll change it.
Yeah, I like flexibility better.
That, I was like, I mean, that kind of says some of what, but I think it was Tom who said earlier about, you talk about up here, you go on and put paragraph after that. Where am I? Oh, it seeks to fund stabilization with blah, 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 addresses capital needs, reinstates needed services, employees, and fund additional employees that will provide and enhance services for Wareham voters. I'd like to hear you say something after that, like Tom had said earlier about, in seeking ways to better manage government. This talks about how to spend more money, but not how we're going to go about streamlining and making a better government. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Okay, and
You're asking them to put more people on the payroll, but not fixing what may be.
And maybe that's where it goes, flexibility to,
I agree. I thought I did, but maybe in the conclusion when I said that work together for common good.
Yeah, for sound financial management, but most people don't get what sound financial.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
And I
As you say, if something, you could put something in there is that as we work on better government structure or something like that. Because we knew that was a plan. That was a plan of, we knew we had cuts, but we knew we needed to add money and possibly reconfigure some.
So instead of what I said above, which does put us on the right path, it will require good sound fiscal management by our leaders and a commitment to the plan.
Mm-hmm.
I need to
But what is the
reword that.
plan? That's it. There's a plan, but that plan includes putting these things back, but finding better solutions too.
Finding better solutions. Okay. I can revise that. I'll fit that in right underneath the better solutions. Okay.
Otherwise, I think that's really good. It gets to the point. It's not full of a lot of doom and gloom. This is what's gonna happen. We went through that for quite a few years of just muddied water.
I know, I wrote the
Yeah,
last
muddied
thing.
water. But even that was really, really more to the center point of things. But I've seen some very long presentations that didn't make a whole lot of sense to the common man sitting out there.
I wanted to remove the anger.
Yeah.
And make it a factual I don't like scare tactics either. I don't think anybody does. So I wanted to be as factual and point out what the possibilities are either way. I did not want to get into the kick the can down the road, this is the wall, look at all the, from a historical standpoint, we could go on for days about the issues in this town, but that doesn't solve anything, so. All right, anyone else? Mr. Hurd?
I have a few
Okay.
thoughts you might consider.
No bad words?
No bad words.
Okay.
Nope.
All right. Anyone else? Okay.
I'm hitting the wall.
Yeah, I already hit the wall. I hit the wall yesterday, and now I'm climbing on top of the wall.
I won't come down till about midnight.
Is there any more discussion on the town meeting? One of the things that I think I've made a mistake. To bill our next meeting as a pre-town meeting would mean that we would need to advertise that we're holding a pre-town meeting. And we have not advertised.
I thought they said we were gonna skip one and come back next week after.
No, I thought we were going to do it and then skip the next week before town meeting.
Oh, I see what you meant. Yeah, I think you're right.
How do we feel about that?
I feel like we're in amazingly good shape considering. I feel like we've worked
I know,
our
but
butts off and.
First off, why do we have to advertise the meeting? We hold a public hearing that nobody shows up to.
It's not a public hearing. It's if we want people to come ask questions, it's something.
But do we really want them to come ask questions?
Well, not personally, but that's just me.
They've had months to ask questions, Larry.
The questions are gonna get asked
They're gonna save
prior
their
to the vote for
questions.
the override.
I mean, hopefully people will
That's when,
come, but
that's when.
Okay. I'll discuss it with Mrs. Town
I mean,
Moderator.
it's not gonna, I mean, as a pre-town meeting, this is really for us to get comfortable with the motions and what we wanted to do. And wait a minute, if they're gonna do this, you were talking about next
She's
Thursday,
still gonna
right?
post
The
it.
motions.
on the 16th.
For the 16th.
I mean, it's gonna be out there, just wouldn't be in the paper.
But
Okay.
Brantley just brought up a thing, that we're not
We're
even
not
gonna
gonna
have
do
the
the
motions
motions
until
until
next
a week from
Thursday.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
You guys
Fine.
are just really, the other thing is with the advice, what I've asked for is that we'll take the vote and the advice and put those on a separate sheet of paper. That way we're not fumbling through and then I'm here. This is Larry letting go once again because Mr. Hurt told me I needed to do this a while back. Then I'll just let Mrs. Donahue and Mr. Hurd work out the schedule on that.
Oh, okay. Since that might contribute to a controversy, I'll let you do it.
No, no.
No, you have to.
You'll have your share. What I was just gonna suggest is one of the things that we do need to do at our pre-town meeting dress rehearsal is just understand, with the moderator, the order that things come up in. I don't think it makes sense to have Article 7 come before Article 6, and since we use a lottery system, we always run the danger of these multi-tiered articles. So I want to discuss the mechanism.
Meeting's about, take a motion to adjourn, never mind.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
so that is really what we want to have clarified.
Do you know what next week is? It's our chance. We're no longer working on the details. Now we're going to figure it out. We're gonna sit down with it. We're gonna go through it step by step. I mean, if you want to, I'll sit here and make up bingo balls and pull them. But then we can decide how we want to approach this, because obviously there's, what I don't like about Springtown meeting being on the bingo system is there's articles in there that are included in the budget. Water pollution control, EMS, those things have got to me, those things need to be taken together because they're all budget related. So we'll have that discussion next week on that.
All right, wait, okay. So we are gonna meet next week and after we have the motions?
We don't have to meet after.
We don't have to meet after we have the motions. Whatever motions we have next week, we can play with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so you two are gonna work on the motions? All right, well, the motions are, there are, a lot of them are done, Bonnie.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
So what is this, Thursday or afternoon? Is that what you're talking
Probably,
about?
I was
So
waiting
is
to hear
everybody
back from
comfortable
Rich
next
All
week,
right.
or Kelly, will we be able to have anything next week as far as the,
I might be able to get some rough copies of the warrant,
okay, just
just for.
9, 10,
Yeah, exactly.
10, 11,
I can do that.
all
Bob.
right.
Email it to me, I can print them out.
Okay.
She said that on camera.
I know.
Get her fired. All right, any other questions on the warrant or the articles or the advice or the letter or anything else to do with town meeting? Before I move on, I just want to say thank you. This is a hard-working committee. Everybody worked hard, everybody's worked together. I think I'm very proud of everything we've done as a team. I'm proud of everything that we've accomplished, and I think the committee has grown a lot, and I'm just honored to be sitting in this chair with this group of people. Approval and vote on invoice 2004-900 from Wareham Week newspaper in the amount of $28.
What are you spending our money on?
Kelly
Okay.
advertised for the public hearing that we had that nobody showed up for. So
Move
we basically spent $28 for nothing, but we have to spend the $28.
I move that we pay the bill.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? God, that was a grumbly, that's 800.
The question
Because
$3 a piece, come on,
Was
guys.
it effective?
$3 a piece, I'll just reach in my.
We
I'll
don't
give you
spend that
five.
money,
What is
they'll completely take our budget away altogether.
Not quite.
I'm married, I don't know.
Dates to remember, April 9th, that would be tomorrow. Last day for FinCom to vote on annual and spring, no, that was tonight, sorry. Everything needs to be into Kelly tomorrow. If you have anything due, get it in. If she'll, by noon, I'm pretty sure I'll know who's got what in. Trust me. Next week, we'll have our walkthrough. I don't want to call it a pre-town meeting, because I probably
rehearsal.
just made our moderator mad. You also need to send, when you get it all laid out, how you want it laid out, send that to, Madam Moderator. Yes?
Can I just bring up another date that I found in our folder, if nobody was paying attention? On Thursday, May 15th, at the Marion Music Hall, they're doing one locally, there will be a meeting of the Association of Town Finance Committees for long-range financial planning, presentation, questions and answers, and they're serving sandwiches and beverages.
Ooh,
Is there any tequila?
I wasn't interested till you said that.
There's no charge, we just have to pre-register, so I think we should go.
That's my
Some of
birthday
us-
week, I won't be conscious.
When's your birthday?
May
It's at
17th.
5:30, Bonnie, you can come early and go out after.
Just so you know, on May 11th, Mother's Day, I turned 55 years old.
AARP, here he comes.
I'm already there. And the only thing I wanted for my birthday, and I don't know if
You want an
anybody,
armadillo cake, I know
anybody
that.
here that's ever seen,
Yesterday was my birthday,
happy birthday.
58.
Oh, yeah, you passed the 50. Only thing I ever wanted for my birthday was from Still Magnolias. It was the armadillo cake with red velvet cake with the armadillo on the outside. So I've asked for that again this year. So if I get it from my wife, I'll let you know. Okay, so next week we'll have our walkthrough, and then we'll take a week off, and then we'll meet, next week we'll discuss it, but we'll meet probably a half hour. Is that about right? An hour before town meeting, 6 o'clock. Yes, sir.
When do we get fitted for the blazers and the shirts and the ties? You did that last week.
You know, as funny as
How
that
do you get us all
sounds,
T-shirts?
we should have all matching blazers. I don't know.
I
It's
actually
just me.
thought about that. FinCom ties.
Oh, my God. Any other business? I think we covered that with the birthdays, so that's the other business. Oh, do we want to bring anything next week? It's kind of a laid-back week for us. Do you need me to bring, I can do something. How about a pineapple upside-down cheesecake?
Don't commit yourself to it. You'll be up all night worrying about it.
Okay, then I'll tell you what.
Surprise us.
I'm not going to bake anything. I'll just go
Tequila?
pick something
I was
up.
just gonna say, I heard somebody say tequila.
I need a motion to approve the minutes of March 26, 2014. Have you read through them?
I have not.
I
read
was
through
not here, I can't vote.
They're in your email, Tom.
them. Yep, I apologize. I did not read them.
You want to hold that off till next week? Because it really doesn't matter. We can vote. Is that okay with you, Kelly? Yes. The boss says okay. So we'll hold that off to next week. Everybody read the minutes she has sent to you. Wait, okay, yeah, let's do that. So next meeting next week, 16th at 6:30. Walkthrough, we shouldn't be here very long. Well, okay, we'll be here long. And then make sure I get the notes that you have. Anybody else's notes, give them to me. I'll write through them. All right, take a motion for adjournment.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Dom, do you want to stay a little longer?
Yeah,
Okay,
sorry, guys.
all right.
I didn't know how long.
Have a good night.